Well, good morning. Let me sip my coffee here. Spring training has arrived. And pitchers and catchers have reported anyway, and that's always a plus. Spring will be here in the north soon, but today we had 4 inches of snow, so it just doesn't feel that way. But when it is all dried and the snow is gone and pitchers and catchers are here with the rest of their team, I think that everything will be all right in the world. I think. In keeping with the calming act of cardboard meditation, I hope you'll indulge me for a moment. When I was a kid in school, every spring I had a couple of teachers that always liked to read haikus to the class because it was all about spring and rebirth and that sort of thing. And it kind of, every time I hear one, it always makes me think of spring, no matter what the content is about. So would you please indulge me just for a moment so we can let this beautiful voice read this haiku to you? All right. Thanks for that. It's about 10 seconds. So in honor of Shohei Ohtani, here it is, the baseball thaw.
Fields shed winter's frost. Crack of bats in warm spring air. Hearts awake with joy.
All right. Thanks for indulging me. You know, I used to love the poem Season of the Turtle that Ernie Harwell, the Detroit Tiger Hall of Fame announcer, used to read every spring training just before the first game kicked off. And it always felt like this is it. This is it. We've started the season and the poem is read and we're ready to roll. So that's kind of why I wanted to do that haiku. Thanks for letting me get away with that one. All right, here we go. You ready? I'm going to ask you a question here. It's going to give you 5 seconds to figure it out. We're not going to spend too much time on figuring it out. You might already know. But what is the only major league team that has delivered a World Series to 3 separate cities? You ready? 5 seconds. It's the Braves. One in Boston, one in Milwaukee, and one in Atlanta. And, you know, I thought it would be fun to go over the lineups from game one of the Braves for each one of those World Series wins. So let's get down to the business of baseball cards. And let's do it right now after this.
Hey, baseball fan. Time for a little self-care and a few minutes of cardboard meditation. Welcome to the show that features some of baseball's oddest stories and the cardboard slabs that document them. Find peace and joy through baseball cards with your host, the big guy.
All right. The 1914 Boston Braves were known as the Miracle Braves. That's because on July 4th of that year, they were in last place. By the time they got to the end of the season, they were 10 and a half games in first place, and they were going to the World Series. Now, here's an interesting fact. During the World Series, they never had the home field advantage because they abandoned their field and had to rent Fenway Park from the Red Sox for the remainder of the season. And the Braves took on the Philadelphia Athletics and swept that series 4-0. And that was the first time in baseball history, World Series history, that was ever done. There was a lot of chatter why Philadelphia got spanked so bad, and it was a lot of people thought that, well, owner and manager Connie Mack was cheap, and he didn't pay very well. So the players decided not to play very well. At least that's what some of the common thoughts were at the time. Okay, let's get into that lineup. This is for Game 1 of the 1914 World Series, and this is just the Boston Braves. Are we ready? Batting leadoff, right fielder Herbie Moran, who has the distinction of winning the World Series for the Braves with a misplayed sacrifice bunt. Okay, now pitcher Bullet Joe Bush, he tried to get the force at third and on the bunts and threw it away, leading to the first walk-off error in series history. This is a 1950 Cracker Jack card, and you're going to see a lot of Cracker Jack cards here. I tried to keep them all within the 1914 time period, but some were only available in 1915. Batting second was second baseman Johnny Evers. Yep, the same Chicago Cubs second baseman that made up the greatest double play combination of the time, Joe Tinker to Evers to Frank Chance. And this is his 1914 Cracker Jack card. The third batter was left fielder Joe Connolly. And here he is on a 1915 Cracker Jack card. If you ever had a chance to put one of these cards in the palm of your hand, they're really thin paper. So if you're going to collect these things, you want to make sure you've got them graded or put in some kind of a rigid holder because they're easy to damage. Now, batting cleanup for this team in 1914 was center fielder George Whitted. Now, his nickname was Possum, and he was only one of 5 major league ball players to have played at least 40 games at every position except pitcher and catcher. And here it is, another 1915 Cracker Jack card. You know, a lot of guys do that now. A lot of guys in Major League Baseball play all the positions, with exception of pitcher and catcher. It's just the way it's played these days. Batting fifth was the first baseman, Charles Schmidt. This card is from 1914, the year of the series. Batting sixth was catcher Hank Gowdy. Now, when I was a kid, I always got him confused with Kurt Gowdy, the announcer. I said, wow, how old is that guy? Well, Hank Gowdy served in World War I, and he was in the front line, knee-deep in muddy trenches. And when he came back from war, he played in 2 World Series, and then he retired. And then he enlisted and served again in World War II. This guy was a patriot. Number 7 batter was shortstop Rabbit Moranville, Hall of Famer. Here's another 1914 Cracker Jack card. Batting eighth, third baseman Charlie Deal. This card is a strip card from 1919. And batting ninth, pitcher Dick Rudolph on a 1916 M101 4 Sporting News card. These are about the same size as tobacco cards. All right, the next World Series won by the Braves was in the Brew City. The Braves moved from Boston to Milwaukee in 1953, and just a few years later, they were back in the World Series. It was the 54th edition of the World Series, with the Braves taking on the New York Yankees. It took the Braves all 7 games to beat the favored Yanks, and they won it all behind Lou Burdett's 3 complete game victories. 3 complete games. I think a lot of younger fans would probably not understand the importance of that. It's just not done anymore. Now check this out. During all the 10 years of the 1950s, the Braves would be the 4th team and the only team, not New York-based, to win a World Series. The other 3 were the Dodgers, the Yankees, and the Giants, who were all New York-based. The Yankees had home field advantage in the series, games 1, 2, 6, and 7, and that was played obviously at Yankee Stadium. And the Milwaukee County Stadium is where the Braves played, and they hosted games 3, 4, and 5. Of the previous 10 World Series, the Yankees had participated in 8 of them and won 7. It's amazing. Hank Aaron led the Braves in batting. Check this out. A .393 average, 11 hits, including a triple, 3 home runs, and 7 RBIs. All right, here's the lineup for the 1957 Milwaukee Braves. You ready? Batting leadoff was Hall of Famer and second baseman Red Schoendienst. This is his 1957 Topps card. In fact, the next 8 cards are all from 1957 and manufactured by Topps. Batting second was shortstop Johnny Logan. Now, this guy was the first Major League ball player to play on championship teams in America and in Japan. The third batter was the slugging Hall of Famer, third baseman Eddie Matthews. Cleanup hitter was center fielder Hank Aaron, one of my favorites and one of the greatest ball players of all time. He broke Babe Ruth's home run record and holds the record for most All-Star selections with 25. Batting fifth was first baseman and slugger Joe Adcock. Batting sixth was right fielder Andy Pafko. Batting seventh was left fielder Wes Covington, another slugger for the Braves. He had a ritual at the plate that drove pitchers mad. In fact, Baseball Digest had an article that said, "And the time it takes for Covington's ritual of hand dusting, cap adjusting, spike cleaning, and deep scowling, the Senate could have held a dozen filibusters." All right, the eighth batter was catcher Del Crandall. And the ninth batter was the greatest left-handed pitcher in baseball, Warren Spahn. And the final World Series that the Braves won was in Atlanta. Now, from 1991 to 2005, the Braves had 14 consecutive division titles. Now, I'm not trying to rub it in or anything like that. I'm sure it still hurts a little, but with all those wins, they were only able to come up with one World Series championship, and that was 1995. They actually went to the World Series in 1996 and 1999, but they were defeated by the dreaded New York Yankees. So I decided to go out with a win, and that's what happened in 1995. The Braves beat the Cleveland Indians 4-2. And here's the starting lineup that contains 3 Hall of Famers. Batting leadoff was center fielder Marquise Grissom, the only Atlanta native on the team, and he just grew up 12 miles from where the Braves played. He liked to play stickball on the street as a kid, and at one time, a slow-moving car drove down the road, stopping the game and irritating the kids. Now, I used to do that as a kid, too. We played with bats and balls. We didn't have a stick for a stickball, but we did it. Somebody comes on the street, you got to clear the road. So, anyways, some of the kids tossed rocks at the car that was moving kind of slowly. But Marquise waited till the car drove up the hill and got kind of far away, and then he threw a rock, which reached the car, and when it hit, the driver got out and all the kids scattered. But the driver caught up to Marquise and asked, "Where do you live?" And Marquise showed him the house, which across the street, and he goes, "Follow me." And then when they got inside, the man introduced himself as T.J. Wilson, who happened to be a cop in Atlanta. And he was off duty at the time. But he goes, "Your son just hit my car with a rock. But if you'll allow him to play on my baseball team, we'll call it even." Marquise said he was just dumbstruck by the whole thing and relieved when his mom said, "Okay, as long as he has time to do his homework and chores, you can have him." I thought that's a funny story. This is his 1995 Leaf card. It's beautiful. I love that baseball glove along the side of the card. It's a nice creative. All right, that was the first batter. Here is the second batter. This is second baseman Mark Lemke. This is Mark's 1995 Topps card. Third batter was the third baseman Hall of Famer, Chipper Jones. Here he is on his 1995 Upper Deck SP card. Batting cleanup was the first baseman, the crime dog, Fred McGriff. Fred grew up in Tampa, Florida, and he actually worked as a vendor at Tampa Stadium. I think that's really cool. He got a chance to see baseball from 2 different sides here. I love this card too. It's just a beautiful card. It's the 1995 Donruss card. Now the fifth batter was right fielder Dave Justice. He was the 1990 National League Rookie of the Year. And did you know that in 1994 he was listed in People magazine as one of the most 50 beautiful people? All right. Here he is on his 1995 Topps card. The sixth batter was left fielder Ryan Klesko. This guy hit a home run in 3 consecutive World Series games in 1995. Game 3, 4, and 5. Ryan is also on his 1995 Topps card. Batting seventh was catcher Charlie O'Brien, again on a 1995 Topps card, all geared up and ready to go with his catcher's gear. Eighth batter was shortstop Rafael Belliard. He was a base coach for my Detroit Tigers for quite a long time. And this is such a great in-action shot. That's why I included it instead of his Topps card. It's the 1995 Pinnacle Scorecard. And batting ninth was Hall of Fame pitcher Greg Maddux. He's the only pitcher to have more than 300 wins, more than 3,000 strikeouts, and fewer than 100 walks. There's a term in baseball when a pitcher can throw a complete game shutout in fewer than 100 pitches. It's called a Maddux. Greg did it 13 times. This gorgeous card is from the 1995 Topps Stadium Club. And with this victory, the Braves became the first team in Major League Baseball to win a World Series championship in 3 different cities. Thanks for letting me start this video off with a little haiku. You're so patient. You're so wonderful. And it's official. Spring training is in full swing, and the season of baseball is about to begin. Thank you for watching. Hey, can you also give me a thumbs up, maybe comment and subscribe? I'd appreciate it. Talk soon.
Cardboard meditation helps set your mind right. Thank you for watching. Show us your appreciation by clicking the like and subscribe button. Ring the bell while you're at it so you'll know when we upload a new story.